T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the space shuttle, and it has cleared the tower.
It is slow, that's the case.
Find your touchdown.
In many ways, living in space is just like living at home back on Earth. And in many other ways, it's not. One big difference is how gravity seems to act differently. We all know that on Earth, if you drop a ball, gravity causes it to fall to the ground. And if you jump into the air, gravity pulls you back down. We feel the effects of Earth's gravity here in space, too, but because we're all falling around the Earth, it makes it seem like we and everything else around us are floating. It's the same thing that's happening to my friend on this trampoline. Each time he goes up, he falls back towards the ground. Now watch what happens when he lets go of the ball. It falls too, but because they're falling together, the ball seems to him like it's floating. On the shuttle, we are falling in an endless circle around the Earth. So if you let go of something in space, it doesn't fall to the floor because the floor is falling too. And if you jump, you won't come back down the way you do on the ground. Can you think of some ways that this could make living in space different from living on Earth? While we're in space, the space shuttle will be our home. It doesn't look much like home, but it has very much the same comforts. Come on, I'll show you. Your house on Earth has a kitchen, and so does the shuttle. Our kitchen uses a convection oven and hot water to warm our food. Each day we're in space, we'll use this kitchen to prepare our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. How many of you have been told to pick up your toys when you're finished playing with them or they'll get lost? This is true in space, too. At home, you probably have a closet or a box to put your toys and belongings in. Here on the shuttle, we use these drawers for our things. And whenever we finish using something, we put it away so that we'll always know where it is. These boxes with the sliding doors are our beds. They don't look very comfortable, but at the end of a long day, they feel just as good as the bed in your room at home. I know that most of you really want to ask, how do you go to the bathroom in space? Well, we go to the bathroom right here, in what we call the WCS, or Waste Collection System. Our toilet looks a little different from the one you have at home. That's because going to the bathroom in space is just a little bit different than what we're used to on Earth. This toilet even has places to put our feet so that we won't float away. The big question is, where does the waste go? Well, I'll show you. The shuttle's toilet has an airflow that pulls the waste into the bottom of the toilet, where it stays until it can be properly disposed of later. The toilet also has a urine collection tube that we use when we have to urinate. And that is how we use the bathroom in space. A lot of people ask us, why do you go to space? Well, we go to space for the same reasons that you go to school, to work and to learn. Now, the best way for you to see that is to join us for a day in space. I'm sure you'll have fun, so come on. A day in space begins just like a day on Earth. We first have to get out of bed, and then we have to take care of our personal needs. Back home, a lot of people start their day by taking a bath or a shower. But that doesn't work so well in space. Remember, up here, things float, even water. But we still need to stay clean because no one wants to spend 8 days cooped up with someone who hasn't taken a bath. So we take our bath with a soapy washcloth, the same way you would wash your face on Earth. We can even wash our hair with a special shampoo that doesn't need water. Another part of almost everyone's morning routine is breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. This is true in space, too. And just because we're in space doesn't mean that we have to eat some kind of weird food. This morning, we're having a balanced breakfast of oatmeal, scrambled eggs, and orange juice. Another thing we still must do, even though we're in space, is brush our teeth. But you can see that up here, it can be more fun. No matter where you are, almost everyone has a job to do each day. At this point in your life, going to school is your job. You are learning the things you'll need to know as you grow up. We have jobs to do on the shuttle, too. And just like you are doing in school, we're learning too. Our main job on this trip is to study the Earth's atmosphere. This will help us to better understand changes that are taking place in the blanket of air that surrounds the Earth. While we're up here, we're also going to launch and retrieve a satellite. This satellite will help scientists to learn about the sun and how it affects our Earth. When we're working in space, we don't have a lot of room. That means that we have to watch out for each other and work together as a team. It's the same way you work together with your classmates in school. We all know that the best results happen when we work together. But whether we're in space, in school, or anywhere else, we have to remember that little things we do can affect others. Just think what it would be like if a crew member were careless and broke or lost a tool that someone needed for an important experiment. Can you think of some things like that have happened in your classroom? Daily exercise is important, and on Earth, most of us get all the exercise we need by doing things that are fun. But it's not the same in space. Just think, if you could float everywhere you wanted to go, your arms and legs wouldn't have to work very hard, and soon they would become weak. That's what it's like in space, so we have to exercise each day to keep our bodies strong. Eating dinner in space is something we look forward to, not just because we're hungry, but because it gives us a chance to spend time together when we're not working. Time for relaxation is important too, so that we can get our minds off our work. What kind of things do you like to do to relax? Well, boys and girls, it's been a long day in space, and I need to get my rest to be ready for a big day tomorrow, too. We're glad that you could spend this time with us, and we hope that you've learned that living in space is not so much different from the things you do every day at home. While we're sleeping, why don't you and your classmates talk about what you've learned today? And can someone hit the lights?
Login confirmed.
Let's go.
There you
Whoa!
Go left, left.
Wait a minute, where are we? And where's the tunnel to get out of here?
I don't know. Let's look at the map. There it is. We need to go right at the idol and then past the waterfall.
And follow the path till it dead ends, and then take another right. Okay, I got it.
Watch out.
Coming through. We're out of there.
Yeah.
T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the space shuttle, and it has cleared the tower.
Looks like Florida. It is Florida. It's the Cape.
Thanks for your touchdown.
Hi, I'm Sid Gutierrez, commander of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. You may not realize it, but that computer and others like it have a lot in common with geography.
They do?
Duh.
For example, like you saw in the game, it's important to know where you are in order to figure out where you're going. That's true whether you're in a computer game on Earth or in space. Speaking of which, take a look at that view.
Right now you're looking at the state of Florida, with the Gulf of Mexico to the west and the Atlantic Ocean to the east. And that's the Kennedy Space Center, where we launch our space shuttles.
We can see all of this because we're 220 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. This kind of high perspective enables us to know exactly where we are because we can see hundreds of kilometers in all directions. Let's go back to the Earth now and see how height affects how much you can see.
On the ground, someone my height can only see about 22 kilometers before the Earth's surface curves out of view. But if I climb a tall ladder, my perspective changes. And changes.
Hey, buddy, what are you doing?
And keeps on changing. Thanks.
Since we can see so much of our Earth at one time, let's use this advantage and take a tour of our planet.
Move it on.
Let's go see the world.
Hi there, I'm Linda Godwin, and I'd like to show you some pretty incredible places in South America.
Let's look first at the jagged line of the mountain range called the Andes, once the center of the Incan Empire. As the world's longest mountain range, the Andes frames the entire western side of South America. Many of the mountains you're seeing are active volcanoes. The lava they spew builds up the land, while glaciers and rainfall tear the land away. On the eastern side of South America, in the country of Brazil, lies the vast Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest is the largest tropical rainforest in the world, and it's home to millions of species of plants and animals. As we fly over the forest, we can see that it's threatened. One of the largest smoke clouds ever produced hovers over this forest. One reason is because trees are being burned and cleared to make way for farming and ranching. But where are all the people? Well, most South Americans, 3/4 of them in fact, live in coastal towns and cities such as Rio de Janeiro. This city was founded around ports that welcomed trade ships from near and far, just one of the many ways geography has shaped the evolution of civilization.
Hello, I'm Tom Jones, and I'd like to give you a new look at Africa, the world's second largest continent.
Differences in climate on this continent are easy to see from space. Let's take a look.
Africa, the only major landmass divided in half by the equator, is host to a wide range of climates. Because Africa's middle straddles the equator, the climate of an area a certain distance north of the equator will almost be identical to the climate of an area the same distance to the south. We can see these differences clearly from space. A hot, rainy climate produces thick, lush rainforests in a belt that stretches across the middle of Africa. Here is where rivers like the Congo wind their way through dense greenery. On either side of the forest band lie the savannas, fertile grasslands of a more moderate climate and less rainfall. The savannas are where most African people live and farm. In the northern savanna region, space photography shows how natural changes have affected Lake Chad. Over the past 20 years, a persistent drought has drastically lowered Lake Chad's water level. Beyond the savannas, great deserts like the Sahara in northern Africa and the Kalahari and Namib in the south consist of barren, rocky flats and wind-formed sand dunes. Along the northern and southern coasts, Africa's deserts give way again to rainy areas. Before we leave Africa, let's look at one more special place here. In the fertile valley of the Nile River, the longest river in the world, Egyptian civilization evolved over 5,000 years ago. As one of the world's oldest continuing cultures, Egypt introduced writing into society and built the age-old pyramids.
Hi, I'm Rich Clifford. Now let's leave the deserts and grasslands of Africa for the beautiful mountains and plains of Europe.
Europe boasts a collection of remarkable islands and peninsulas. This part of the Iberian Peninsula is where Columbus set sail to search for a water route to India. We all know where he ended up. And look at this, the boot of Italy. Just west of Italy is the island of Sicily, where a volcano has been active for more than 2.5 million years. North of Italy is a mountain range called the Alps. The Alps create an elegant arc through the countries of France, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. One more stop on our trip through Europe shows you the view through the narrow Strait of Gibraltar. Spain is to the north, while Africa is to the south. The water between them is the blue Mediterranean Sea.
Right next to Europe lies the world's largest continent, Asia. Hi, I'm Jay Apt. Let's go have a look.
First, let's view some of the lakes and seas that dot the Asian countryside. On the border between Europe and Asia lies the world's largest inland sea, the salty Caspian Sea. To the east of the Caspian lies the Aral Sea, once the world's fourth largest lake before it started evaporating like Lake Chad in Africa. Remember, Lake Chad is drying up because of natural climate changes, but the water level of the Aral Sea is dropping due to human-made changes as farmers divert the water supply for cotton field irrigation. Moving further northeast into Siberia, we encounter the comma-shaped Lake Baikal. This huge lake, the world's deepest, contains roughly 20% of all the world's fresh water. Let's dry off now and look at some other interesting geological features in Asia. The frozen Kamchatka Peninsula at the eastern edge of the former Soviet Union appears quiet, but it actually has a history of violent volcanoes and earthquakes. The volcanoes of Kamchatka are part of what's known as the Ring of Fire, a near-continuous string of volcanoes surrounding the edges of the Pacific Ocean. Far away from the Ring of Fire are the snow-capped Himalayas in India and Pakistan. Home to the highest mountains on Earth, the Himalayas include Mount Everest, the highest one of them all. One more glimpse of Asia shows us the Sinai Peninsula, with the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba, the Gulf of Suez, and the Mediterranean Sea. Once these places fit neatly together until our restless crust tore the region apart.
Hi, I'm Kevin Chilton, and I have several places I'd like to show you. First, there's the land down under, Australia.
It may look like an island from here, but Australia is the world's smallest continent and a very flat and dry one too. The red that you see is a result of high iron content in the soil.
To Australia's east lies the vast Pacific Ocean.
This ocean is so big that it'll take us 20 minutes to cross it, even though we're traveling really fast, about 8 kilometers per second. As we pass over the Pacific, we see the big island of Hawaii, one of the many islands which dot these immense waters.
After we cross the Pacific, we come to our home continent, North America.
North America stretches from Greenland and Canada through the United States and Mexico, all the way to the Central American Isthmus. Geological features of the U.S. are spectacular when viewed from space.
The San Andreas Fault stretches almost 1,000 kilometers from Mexico through most of California and is the cause of frequent earthquakes in this part of the world.
In the state of Utah, we see the blue salty waters of the Great Salt Lake. The visible line you see, a railroad causeway, interrupts the water circulation, causing one side of the lake to be saltier than the other. And way over on the east coast is Long Island in New York. Can you believe that Long Island was formed by a glacier? But not all of Earth's sights fulfill our expectations when seen from space. You might think that a geological wonder like the Grand Canyon in Arizona would look amazing from the shuttle's point of view. But from orbit, its great chasms become only a series of lines, dramatically showing us how difficult it is to perceive depth from out in space. What does catch our eye is the White Sands Desert in New Mexico, and the Mississippi Delta, which deposits the waters of the Mississippi River into the Gulf of Mexico. Here's yet another look at our continent as we view the lights of the cities of Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. Were you the one that forgot to turn out the lights?
So what do you think? Our planet's really remarkable, isn't it?
North and South America, Africa, Europe and Asia, and Australia. And what's the continent we didn't cover today? If you said Antarctica, you're right. That's because we don't travel that far south.
We hope you've enjoyed seeing your world from the point of view of the space shuttle. Maybe you'll be here one day yourself. It's better than any game you'll ever play.
You have to go left again. Go left.
Aww.
I said go left.